Today on Community Connections, I have the president of Monmouth University, Dr. Paul Brown. So thank you for wandering over from your office at Wilson Hall.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Now, this has got to be, Monmouth University has so much to offer for its undergraduate and graduate students, and this is just one thing. I mean, playing Gier Hall with the television studio and everything else.
It's true. I'm obviously a little biased.
Just a little.
But we have over 20-some areas where students can study on the undergraduate level, almost an equal number at the graduate level. Great facilities. I am biased, but we have a lot to offer.
I'm a parent whose youngest daughter is going off to college in the fall. And I have a lot of friends in exactly the same situation. What do you tell parents when their kids are starting to look at college, whether it's Monmouth or not? What advice do you give?
Well, try to minimize the stress.
Good luck.
There will be stress. I absolutely start with think about what's the right fit. I'm absolutely convinced that there are so many good universities throughout the United States and the world, but I'm biased towards the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Be calm about it, because there is going to be a school that meets your needs. So minimize the stress. Second, absolutely draw on your colleagues at your high school. And by that I mean not only the advisors, but those students a year or two ahead of you that are probably peer-to-peer, which is huge. And then third, think a little bit about what you think your passion is. It's probably going to change. You're probably not sure, which is all good.
For an 18-year-old to be expected.
Absolutely, and I hope it changes, actually.
Right.
But third, think a little bit about your passion, what the gut is that feels right, because that actually will keep the stress level down a fair amount, because it's something you're comfortable with.
How much selling does a university have to do now to get kids on campus as either prospective or finally as students? I mean, because Monmouth, I'm on your campus a couple times a week, most weeks. Your facilities and the look about campus is spectacular. Not many schools can match it.
You really have to sell, and so you should. I'm never concerned about the value of what I'm offering, but I'm desperately concerned about how pricey higher ed is, including Monmouth, to be frank. So you do have to sell. You have to make the argument as to why this is the right institution for you, and why, for lack of a better term, the value proposition is right. And there is a little bit of an arms race that's happening in higher ed. So you sell, but you sell in all the right ways. What is it that you have to offer? What is it about your facilities? What it is about your professoriate? What it is about your services? But we are shameless in making sure individuals understand Monmouth before they leave here.
I'm a prospective parent of a student. What do you tell us? I mean, your course selection is very interesting, but I think more importantly right now for you guys is Monmouth is in the news almost Monmouth University is in the news almost every day.
Yeah, we are, and I use this term front porch. We have a great front porch in terms of visibility. We are at the Jersey Shore, which is historically a wonderful front porch. But building on that, we've had a fantastic run with our men's basketball, which has given us tremendous national visibility. The electoral season we're in is interesting.
Well, it's interesting because I started the year by interviewing Marilyn McNeil.
Oh, yes.
And I made a comment, your basketball team should be pretty good this year. And I had no idea. And then a week or two later, I see her in the locker room with Coach Rice after beating UCLA.
Yes.
On national TV.
Yes. The mayor mentioned Marilyn McNeil. She's our vice president for athletics, our athletic director. And absolutely, you take these components that you have that gives you visibility, and you use that as your conduit to let students know what they can study. So we really do a couple things. We're a residential university, so we talk a huge amount about what it's like to live on a campus. on a safe campus in a wonderful area of New Jersey. We talk about what curriculum opportunities there are, not try to force, but make sure it's understood. We talk about what it's like to be with peers on a campus. The wonderful thing about a typical undergraduate student when they come here, literally everything in their life changes. There's not one thing that remains the same. Where they eat, where they study, who they live with, what they do with their spare time. So we try to give them a sense of what it would be like here. And the most powerful is actually listening to peer-to-peer. We have them in front of faculty. We have them in front of the administrators, but we're not the action. The action is to listen to other students. And I recommend that huge when individuals look at universities.
You came here from Lehigh.
I came here from Lehigh University.
Were you Dean of Students, if I remember?
I was the Dean of the College of Business and Economics. So I was the Dean of the business areas of
And
studies.
your background was accounting or mathematics?
It's finance and economics and accounting. Yep.
And you come to Monmouth now.
Yes.
Okay. What's the value of a liberal arts education these days?
The value of a liberal arts education, first off, I have a liberal arts education foundation coming from Franklin and Marshall College. The value is...
What did you major in?
I majored in economics and German.
Okay. You like languages?
I like languages. I also had difficulty deciding on what my major was going to be.
Okay.
So I got into my beginning of my junior year, and I was told I better choose a major. And
Your parents told you, or your
no.
faculty advisor told you?
my faculty advisor and the registrar told me. And I bluntly asked, what am I closest to being able to major in? And it turns out it was economics and German, so I went with it.
And it worked out okay?
It worked out okay. But I say that kiddingly. The Liberal Arts Foundation is a wonderful way to work through developmentally what you think your passion is. A liberal arts education will do that much, much better than immediately going into a professional field of study.
Yeah.
But appreciate at Monmouth, we do it both. We both have the Liberal Arts Foundation, but we have the professional fields that you can also choose.
As an undergraduate or graduate or both?
Both, actually. And I was primarily thinking undergraduate.
Where are kids in terms of what courses study? Because, I mean, you're coming to a college where a year at a private university to a parent is $60,000 approximately.
Well, we're not that pricey, but
Okay, but by the time we pay for everything,
it's
we're
not
getting
cheap.
there.
It's not cheap.
Yeah,
It's not
okay.
cheap, Mayor. You're right.
It's not cheap. But so parents are thinking,
Yes.
what is my child going to do when they graduate?
Yes.
And what kind of jobs are available? So you're telling them liberal arts, but they're also going to start to pick up some professional credentials.
Absolutely, and I actually think that's the right mindset. We finished a strategic plan about a year ago, and the core of our plan is a phrase, and I'm kidding because I use it too much, which is preparing for life after Monmouth. Life at Monmouth is pretty good,
Right.
but the moment a student comes in here, I want them to be preparing for when they graduate. And that means foundation studies. That means thinking about where that foundation would lead to disciplines, that would be passion. That would lead to, and I'll be very direct, either employment or graduate school. Life after Monmouth, it can be any of these options, but no plan is not a plan. And we work very hard at that. It's absolutely the core to what our strategic planning is all about.
How do you get that into a student's mind when they come here? Is probably when they're here having
Yes.
been admitted thinking they're going to come here. How do you get the
Yes.
kids to start thinking that way?
A little bit of shock value. I just was with a first-year student. We're finishing our first, he's finishing his first year. And I asked him whether he had been into our career services offices. And he said no. I said, you'll tell me by a week from today who your counselor is that you've been at career services.
I was at my daughter's future school, and that was one of the seminars that we went to.
Yep. You
And
can't-
they gave us the same pitch.
and you cannot start too early. I think it's a combination of ways you do it. I do think you instill on a student, think broad, think about what interests you, but always think about an end game in that context. Your best options frankly, are your faculty. Find a faculty member or 2 or 3 that you can sort of close your eyes and think that they might be a lifetime mentor. Find your advisor that works for you, and it might not be the professoriate. It can be the person who's in charge of the Hawk TV. It can be the person it can be your coach. Find a natural partner for a mentor, and absolutely find the services on campus that will help you guide you through your 4 years. And career services is a whole infrastructure that we have here that I'm desperate to have students recognize. It's there, and you must start early to think about it.
How big a role do the alumni play in getting kids out of here and into a professional field?
Alumni play an incredible role because they're tenacious in wanting to get the Monmouth name out there selfishly. I love the alum that says to me, I don't think I would be accepted at Monmouth University if I came back now. And I look him in the eye and say, he probably wouldn't be. But that person will be tenacious to help disproportionately the Monmouth student. Now, the Monmouth student has to sell themselves,
Sure.
but that alum will help. They will help with internships. They will help with a wonderful concept of externships.
What's that? What's
An
the difference?
externship is slang for actually, you're not sure what you want to study, but you'd like to shadow somebody.
Okay.
Maybe there's somebody interested in a particular area that they have a gut that it interests them. You'll stay with that person for 3 weeks in their work situation. Alums will do that wonderfully. Allow them right there on the trading floor of Goldman Sachs, if that's what
So
a student has in mind.
you have students who do that.
Absolutely, all the time. And alums are crucial to help with that. The third thing that alum does, just very direct, is they will be on our campus in mentoring and advisory roles all the time. And we match them up with students whenever we can.
You have a fair number of alumni. I mean, I run into people from Monmouth all the time, but they live in the Monmouth County area and certainly within the state of New Jersey.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You get them back on campus a lot now.
We do. You're looking for substantive reasons to have them on campus. We have activities in our theater, Pollock Theater, that they're on campus constantly. We have HD opera, we have live performances, we have jazz bands. We have obviously the athletic events. We have filled the MAC Athletic Center for sellouts probably for the last 10 games that we had there. We'll bring them back for cultural events. We'll bring them back for lecture series. There's a lot of excuses to have somebody to keep learning, and they'll come back to our campus.
This is one of the first years I didn't interview someone from your arts department to talk about the events on campus.
Yeah.
But I mean, if people, now I'm talking about residents of Long Branch who have very little connection to Monmouth, didn't go here, kids didn't go here. There's a lot of reasons for them to come over.
We just had an event last Saturday in Pollock. It's called TEDx Navasink. Our informal survey showed that about half that audience was from the greater Long Branch, Ocean, and then broader Monmouth, Ocean County. And of that group, vast majority had never been on our campus before.
Really? Never been on the
Vast majority
campus?
had never been on the campus.
All right, we're going to take, that's their loss because it's a beautiful area. We're going to take a break and then we'll come back for the second half.
Your seat cushion can be used to grant wishes.
Who said that? Hello?
Really can, you know.
You talking to me?
Sure am. Because the airline miles you earn and donate to Make-A-Wish can help send thousands of kids on their wish trips. So donate to Make-A-Wish today.
You really should, you know. You really should.
And give wishes wings, because wishes work wonders.
You are about to finish off your third year here.
That's right.
What does the president of Monmouth University do besides show up on TV now and then?
Well, let's see. Every day's different. I'll start with that.
So you like the job?
I love the job, and I would actually say I do like it because of the you never know what's around the corner. But I mean, big buckets, a huge amount of planning. I'm always amazed when we have a commencement coming up, and I forget about things that are right now because you're planning in the future. A huge amount of planning, and I have great colleagues that I do that with. I think a second thing that keeps me busy is just visible, and I mean that from an enjoyment perspective, whether it be with students at events, on campus. You are constantly going to activities that we offer. So I appreciate that I'm recognizing, that I'm being recognized and I'm representing the university.
Now,
A lot of visibility.
You have an event on campus, I would think, average more than one a day.
Probably, absolutely.
I mean,
It's usually-
between the
yeah,
arts,
absolutely.
sporting events, because, I mean, people paid a lot of attention to basketball, but you have women's basketball.
Yes.
Your soccer team is
Yes.
nationally ranked,
Right.
or on the verge every
Absolutely. Men's lacrosse, women's lacrosse. We have 21 Division I sports.
year. How many of the events do you get to?
Pretty many. Pretty many. I'm sighing because I always feel inadequate that I'll hop from event to event to event. I made every one of the home men's basketball games, and I made all but one of the home men's football games. I love, it's like strange, but I love to watch the women's basketball. It's a completely different pace. It's an interesting game to follow, and I absolutely enjoy women's lacrosse.
Relatively new sport here.
Relatively new. Men's is even newer, but I try to get as many as I can. I also am so appreciative. The student athlete is a very special student. We have over 500 student athletes on our campus, and they work extremely hard at what they're doing.
Time management skills.
Time management.
I don't think I could have done that at their age.
Oh, Mayor, I'm sure you could have. You would have come to the table.
I don't think I could have.
Now I
now-
have to ask about what you did with your free time then. But
we won't go there.
Okay.
But you know, I did the same thing you did. My third year of college, they said, "What are you majoring in?" And I said, basically, history, English, and it was American Studies and U.S. history.
Yeah.
And that's what I was close to.
Yeah. But you're right about time management. And time management is a particular challenge for student athletes, but it's
For all students,
I was
really.
I was just going to say what you just said. I will run into students that will be involved with 3 or 4 different clubs. They will work on campus. This week we're celebrating our students that work on campus, and it's a wonderful way for a student to know a campus. They'll take the full set of courses. They will also probably be leading some sort of community-based activity. There's a lot of our students that just love to be engaged in the community. It could be volunteer work. It could be related to their religion. And the student is just balancing. They'll work like right here, you know, the TV. They'll be part of our weekly news paper, and they just juggle. But students have determined, as we all have, I think, idle hands. It's a goofy old term, but you keep busy, and time management is the key for them.
How
to
many
do it.
students do you have on campus?
It's an interesting question. I would answer it this way. We have about 2,000 plus students who live in residential owned housing. That's either on campus, University Bluffs, which is owned by us, or in Pier Village. But my mindset is more, in addition to that, how many students do I have that live so close to the campus? A lot live in Long Branch.
Right.
A lot live in West Long Branch, a lot live in Ocean. How many students either live on campus or live so close that their mindset is the campus? Your frame of reference for that actually is a little bit of a funny one, which is how many students take our meal plans?
Okay.
Because if you're living in Long Branch, you might not be interested in cooking. You might be interested in being here. When you define that proximity, about 88% of our students are residential students.
And how many undergrads, approximately?
We have about 4,500 undergraduates.
And how many graduate?
About 1,700.
How big, I mean, you've been a university not quite 20 years?
That's about 20, yes.
I mean, part of that emphasis is on, there's nothing wrong with just being a college, either. I went to a college, not a university.
I did too.
But the emphasis on graduate school,
Yes.
I know that those programs, some of them are off the main campus, but those are
Yes.
growing, particularly the medical field.
No, you're right, Mayor. Our undergraduate number is going to stay about what I just said. We are not going to grow at the undergraduate level. The steady state would be maybe about 4,800 undergraduate. This campus can sustain that number, but that's the right number. Our graduate will grow. And to be very direct, it's one of my levers in terms of expansion, in terms of visibility for the university. And that will grow primarily off campus. We have a location off campus.
That's for is it a nurse practitioner or a physician's assistant?
We have several programs. We have a PA program, a physician's assistance program that's offered at our graduate center, a speech language pathology program, which is a huge growth area right now.
Is that at the building on Route 36 now?
Yes, yes. We refer to it as the Monmouth, the corporate park at Monmouth University. We have a doctor of nursing practice that's offered both there and online.
That's going to be one of my questions.
And we absolutely will keep the level at the undergraduate. And when you keep that level, and I'm referring to, and frankly, with the exposure to the university growing, you're going to naturally have a stronger student, and you're probably going to have a more diverse student, and you're probably going to have geographical. But the graduate will grow, and it will be primarily off campus.
Well, with the interest in the basketball team, and we mentioned before, the Polling Institute, I get emails from them almost every day now.
Good.
And I almost always look at them.
Almost always.
Well, right. Well, you know, I'm obviously interested in politics. The presidential race right now is bizarrely fascinating.
Yes.
And they're giving me up-to-date information.
That's great.
Almost every day, and some days I just don't have time.
That's great.
I got one today, I think, about the New York primary.
Yeah, the New York primary, and one just came out about the Maryland primary also. Yes.
But the visibility, what's that doing to your application, and what percent of kids get in?
Well, it has done a huge amount. I have a great director of the Polling Institute, and Patrick Murray. And Patrick and I and my leadership, we sat down 2 years ago and we made a strategic decision. It's not cheap to run a Polling Institute on a national level. And we made that commitment. Very parallel in terms of our sports emphasis. And men's basketball was in the MAC conference. We have some great schools that we compete with. We decided to make that commitment. That and a combination of just keeping your program strong. In 1 year alone, we had about an 8% increase in our undergraduate application pool.
What percentage of kids get in, do you know?
I don't know exactly. This year, for example, we have about 9,000 applications. We will accept about 1,100. We also have transfers that come in, which are in a different pool. And then obviously that needs to translate to the student deciding to matriculate here. But that's a wonderful dimension to visibility. What I worry about in my world, which is competitive, I have no question that I know the value I'm providing. But if a student doesn't know it, and I don't get a student here, then I can't compete. And if somebody's going to come on our campus because they've heard that we beat UCLA or we beat Georgetown or almost beat USC and we won our division,
right.
I will take that student anyway. Just like I'll take the students in the spring. Oh, you come down here early to the Jersey Shore, I'll take them on my campus.
When you came here the first time, what was the first building you went into and what was your reaction? Well, let me ask you this. Before you came here to interview for the job, had you ever seen the campus before?
I had not seen the campus. I knew the area very well because my wife's family, one of her in-laws is from right here in Long Branch. So I knew the area, and I sort of knew there was a university there. You just see it sort of surrounded in a beautiful area, but actually had never been on the campus. Wilson Hall, there's no question. The first
mouth drop open?
I'm sorry?
Did your mouth drop open?
It did actually.
It's a spectacular building.
It is a spectacular building, and I will tell you, somebody told me about Wilson Hall, and they said, watch the 1981 version of Annie. There's other versions, but watch the 1981 version of it with Carol Burnett and everybody. And they said, Wilson Hall is significantly in the show. And I thought, oh, yeah. as you probably are aware, 30, 40 minutes of that, if not more, of that whole show is very visible. Wilson Hall is just a spectacular facility to have on our campus. Now, others I went into fairly quickly is the Guggenheim Library isn't something to say lightly about.
Nope.
And now we have just, honestly, the building that we have just most recently opened, Pisicki Hall, is incredible. It's absolutely state-of-the-art facility. So, but Wilson Hall.
In terms of facilities, what do kids look for these days?
Kids look for a great residence hall. They're looking for a residence hall learning, living learning environment that they're comfortable with. They're looking for dining services that
Snack bar open till 3 o'clock in the morning?
Absolutely, and has sushi, you know, during the day. And that's all fair. This is where their home is.
Right.
So they're looking for nice, in the context of on a campus, what they're looking for is comfortable housing. They're looking for surroundings that they can relate to from what they've experienced or think they want to. They're looking for a residence hall that's comfortable with a dining hall. They're actually looking for a sense of a campus, but campuses have different feels to them. There's an academic component to it. There's a living component to it. There's a recreational component to it. They're desperately looking for the peace of mind, body, spirit, the body piece. They're looking for great facilities. What we have, which we do have in terms of the MAC facilities.
Last question, the sense of community that you get here from Monmouth and the surrounding area, how do you feel about it these days now that you've been here for a couple of years?
I will tell you that I'm still a little blown away by it. I had a very good sense of community at Lehigh. It was good. It's Lehigh Valley. It's obviously different from the Jersey Shore, but there's a lot of commonality. Individuals that have been from the area for a long time, comfortable with the area, know the area. And that was strong, but it is so strong here. It is so deep. The commitment to the community, and I define that by any level, environmental, support, healthcare, compassion, recognizing diversity of backgrounds and interests, making sure that it's a civil environment to live in and enjoy and raise children. It is eerie, wonderfully eerie, but I'm still a little blown away by how deep it is, and it's very inspiring, I will say.
Well, thank you for coming over to Monmouth University to be interviewed.
Well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.